Good evening, everyone. June 23rd, regularly scheduled City of Port Orchard Council meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. We're at the citizens' comment portion of our agenda. So, yes, please come up. I was going to say nobody has signed up, but if you'd raise your hand to be recognized. Sorry, maybe somebody did.
Okay. I'm here to talk about next Tuesday's meeting on setting the impact fees for developers, investors, and development and real estate people that are involved in that. And at the study session, you said you wanted to invite stakeholders to attend this meeting. And Mr. Patunsu and Mr. Clausen, and there may have been others, but seemed to be the ones that stood out in my head, voiced their dislike of the amount being charged in the formula that Mr. Dorsey had in his document. It was something like 42%, 8%, and 50% that is in that document. Well, I've thought about it all week long, and I have a tendency to let it steam and boil until I'm ready to come up here and talk. And I'm a stakeholder also in this impact fee process, and so is every citizen inside the city limits of Port Orchard. And if these developers and investors don't pay their fair share in the cost, then the cost falls back on me, the taxpayer, and the other citizens of Port Orchard to pick up this bill. These developers wouldn't be building if they didn't expect to make money. They get tax breaks, they get credits, they have the ability to pass their cost on to other customers. I can't, and neither can most of the other taxpayers in this community. I take a direct hit and have no way to recoup that money. I am a stakeholder. I want to know what are the percents that are being taxed in other communities that have impact fees, and we should be no less than those communities. There were a couple other things that happened at that study session that kind of bothered me. First of all, the Home Builders Association, and I'm sorry I do not know the woman's name, said that she couldn't be at that meeting that you set, the first one. And so you changed the meeting. I would lay odds if I'd raised my hand and said, I'm a stakeholder, please change the meeting. You wouldn't even have considered that for me. So I'm upset about that. I also have been told that the home builders have a Section 7 or something about how to get out of paying impact fees and how to maybe coerce councils on this issue and the kind of the threat type thing, that they won't build or something. I think that the citizens of Port Orchard deserve more accountability to us and not to people that are coming from outside of our community and wanting to build and get all of the tax breaks and that, and then it falls back on us. I went today to pay for a license on an older car that I own. License was only $65, but the tabs really are only $35. Of that, rest of that money are just little dings that are being from the transit system, the Seattle ferries, and such as that. We're just being dinged to death. I'll come back. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We do have Ms. Henderson has signed up. Sorry, I didn't have this list before, but I do now. So, and then if you would like to make comments.
Good evening. My name is Vivian Henderson, and I live near Long Lake. I didn't come here today to weigh in.
Excuse me, could you raise the mic up closer to your mouth, and that way people at home can hear?
Great.
There you go. Thank you.
I didn't come here today to weigh in on Bremerton's squabble with KRCC, but I think it offers a teaching moment. I agree with one citizen who responded on the Sun's blog, quote, "It is good to see Bremerton flex its muscles." I agree with that. Does everybody know what I'm talking about here? Bremerton is contemplating pulling away from KRCC. I'm still getting blank looks.
Hi.
Well, I'm going to read this, and you'll catch on, because I don't want to squander all my minutes. I'm not against a team of local leaders forming a coalition to mutually solve problems and our disputes. Perhaps KRCC is not the best vehicle for that. This is a good time to bring to your attention some issues that have bothered me for a long time and should bother every citizen in this county, especially our local elected officials. My reason for being here is to discuss Kitsap County and its cities' participation in the Puget Sound Regional Council, which is the one across the water. This is an issue that rises above property rights, or liberal, or conservative, or Democrat, or Republican. This is an issue whether our citizens want to continue to be governed by those we elect here locally, or do we want to turn our autonomy over to a regional body like Puget Sound Regional Council, a regional planning organization that develops policy and makes decisions about transportation planning, economic development, and growth management for 4 counties, King, Pierce, Snohomish, and Kitsap. They operate out of the 5th floor of a building on Western Avenue in Seattle with 66 employees and a fiscal year 2014-2015 budget of $31,258, taxpayers' money. That should enrage you guys. I'm going to see if I can build a fire here. PSRC asserts they are not a regional government. They only develop policy and do not have the power or authority to regulate. But what they don't tell you is that they control billions of dollars in grant money, taxpayers' money. They've got a pretty big hammer for getting what they want from its members. I am very concerned that our local elected officials, through their compliance with PSRC policies, are ceding their authority as a local government, and in doing so are risking my clout and the power of my vote and that of all voters in Kitsap County. I think Kitsap County and its cities may be too deep in the quicksand to save ourselves, and I wonder if there will ever be the will to bring our government back. It's easier to just let somebody else do the work. Kitsap County got awarded some Vision 2040 awards last night at their meeting, and it's just a little thing that doesn't mean anything unless you make something out of it, and people do make something out of it. I only had 3 minutes, so I don't have time to tell you all the things I'd like to tell you about these things that bother me. Is there anyone here that goes to Seattle to the PSRC meetings? You go? Okay, I have some advice. Let me give it to you. Go to the meetings. Be on time. Listen. Ask questions. Make contributions to the discussion. Don't be afraid to speak. Don't understand what is going on? Ask people to repeat or explain if you didn't hear or don't understand. Try to avoid making unanimous votes. There are way too many of them. Doesn't anybody think? Make sure you have an alternate and he or she attends the meetings when you can't. Get a briefing of the meeting you missed from your alternate. Be sure and report the gist of the meeting each month to your city council, mayor, etc. Remember, knowledge is power. One day I'd like to give a 3-minute dissertation on Vision 2040, if anybody's interested. That is, Vision 2040 is merely an elite planner's idea of utopia. I would love to go over that. John Clausen's been involved with for many years. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope I broke through a little bit. Bye-bye.
Do you have something you'd like for us to distribute? The rest of your comments? Would you like to leave?
I do have something I'd like for you to distribute. But wait a minute. I've got more work to do on it. I just ran out of time this afternoon.
Okay.
I will be back.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, that's our list. And is anyone else? Yes, please.
Vance Vaught, 243 Tremont Place. Greetings, Mayor, Council, and citizens of Port Orchard. On behalf of the Port Orchard American Legion Post Number 30, I want to thank our Mayor, Tim Mathis, for his inspirational leadership he provided at our post for two of our recent events. The first event was for our American Legion Evergreen Boys State. Our post interviewed and sent an outstanding high school junior graduate from Port Orchard to join over 300 others from around the state to attend this event. Other students who had another student who had already graduated from this program was at our interview process, and both of them had shown me a great interest in meeting the mayor. So on 11 June 2015, I had the great pleasure to see our next generation of leaders learning from one of the best leaders of my own generation. Mayor Mathis gave these two young men a tour of our City Hall and presented them with something that will assist them in the next chapter of their lives, Alexis de Tocqueville's book, Democracy in America. And then he dedicated that to them and signed it to them as their mayor. The mayor gave them a great send-off into a promising future for both these young men and reinforced in them what government is all about. It's what you make it. In fact, it's one of the greatest programs of the greatest generation. It was born in the 1930s to fight a fascist movement that was using young pioneer camps to teach boys of high school age that democracy had outworn its usefulness and should be replaced by a new form of government, namely fascism. This American Legion program helped deliver us from evil then, and it's even doing it now in its 75th year. And it's as true today as it was back then. Freedom is not free. This is a program that lets us stand and be a part of what the greatest generation really stood for. After all, every generation comes and goes, and it's only what we stand for that lives on. This is why the American Legion invests so much time and money in this. I have more to this, so it talks about the program a little bit more. The second event that the mayor helped us with was in our flag retirement ceremony on June 14th. And again, our mayor's participation was very much appreciated, and it meant a great deal to those attending the ceremony. I had the great honor to be a part of that ceremony and meet our leaders from outside of the American Legion and from members of the Belfair Post 200 who also attended. For those of you who have never attended a ceremony like this, it complements our Pledge of Allegiance and is a real moving tribute to our flag and what it represents. As the chaplain said during the ceremony, as they yield their substance to the fire, may your holy light spread over us and bring our hearts renewed devotion to God and country. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. It was my pleasure, by the way. Okay. Yes, sir?
I want to start back here so that way if I get to the time, the podium doesn't start there for me. My name is Matt Murphy. I'm the Executive Director for the Port Orchard Chamber of Commerce. And a couple things I wanted to touch on today is that, as I've said before, our siting ordinance is something that needs to be looked at and revised. The Supreme Court just ruled, Nick's been through it, I'm sure, on the Reed versus the Town of Gilbert and content neutral signage and things like that, and it is definitely something that has implications for the sign ordinance here in Port Orchard. So my question is really, with the pressure now to update the sign ordinance, is there a timeline? Is there a schedule? What is the plan? Is it the city's, and this is a question I really like an answer to, is it the city's intention to put a moratorium on new signs in the city of Port Orchard? Is it the city's intention to shut down signage until this can all get taken care of? Because if it is, we might as well hang a closed sign on the city of Port Orchard for new business. Because nobody's going to come to town, nobody's going to want to invest to open a business and then have a blank storefront. Without proper signage, business cannot succeed. For example, the Lighthouse. The Lighthouse has been asked to take down their sign, the one that says brunch, all right? That's in violation of the sign ordinance. He said there's a lot of people drive by, whip in, have lunch. Okay, let's take that down. let's cut his Sunday business in half. All right? So we do have an option now. We have an option when it comes to enforcement. I know you guys on the agenda today are in the process of hiring a new code enforcement person. It is within the authority of the administration, the mayor, to either emphasize or de-emphasize ordinance, what's the word I'm looking for? The code enforcement. Okay, should they work on nailing the business guy who's got a sign, or should he work on the contractor who's maybe working a little shady, on something? Besides that, I think the code enforcement guy has got a lot on his plate. I don't know if he's here tonight. I know you're going to introduce him or at least hire him. It is a big thing, and it is something that you guys have control over. We can't sit on it. We can't close down the city of Port Orchard. And also back to the impact fees for the meeting next month. In addition to, if anybody's going to find out what other cities are charging, I'd also like to know what cities are not charging any impact fees, because I know there's some of those out there too. Okay, so just because Sammamish is at 11,000 or 14,000 or whatever it is, that's not something that we can compare to. All right, so if we've got cities out there that are charging it, we got cities out there that aren't. And then the last thing, one of Vivian's notes here about whoever the PSRC representative is paying attention, that is going to be our mantra in this upcoming election, is to pay attention to the issues and the people and who stands for what. Okay, the Chamber of Commerce is not going to endorse any particular candidate, but we are going to stress that the public pays attention to the issues and the issues that affect them locally. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Last chance? There'll be another chance at the end of the meeting. So, we'll move on to approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Clausen?
I'd like to add an item, 7I. It has to do with delegating authority for application for a mitigation grant.
For a what?
Mitigation grant, the hazard mitigation grant, and it's just basically designating Mark the authority to sign the application.
Okay, so then we'll call item I in our business item, and it's hazardous mitigation grant.
Application
Or
authorization.
grant, and we'll talk, let's see.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any questions?
I would like to add.
Well, we're going to vote on this one first. We'll
Okay.
go ahead and take care of this one. Any other question? Nothing? All right, then we're going to vote on adding item I. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, we have added item I to the business items. Okay, Ms. Lucarelli.
I'd like to add item F to the consent agenda to excuse Councilman Childs.
What was that again?
Item F to the consent agenda to excuse Councilman Childs.
Second. Yes, okay.
No, we haven't revised.
Well, let's see here. Okay, we should do that when we get to the consent agenda, but it's requested that we add an additional item to excuse Councilman Childs to the consent agenda. We have a motion and a second.
I did second it twice.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Thank you. We have an amended consent agenda. Is there anything else for the approval of the agenda?
I would move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. Any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? That motion carries. Okay, we're moving on to the last chance to add anything or change anything to the consent agenda. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as amended. Any other discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Okay, thank you. So there isn't any presentations and no public hearings, so we'll move on to business item 7A. And business item 7A, adoption of an ordinance adopting a franchise agreement with Waste Management Services. And Clerk Reinerson is not here tonight. So,
I'm going to do it tonight.
okay.
Good evening. On July 1st, 2005, the city entered into a 5-year franchise agreement with Waste Management and allowed the parties to extend the agreement twice, the first extension for 3 years and the second for 2 years for solid waste services. This franchise expires on June 30th, 2015. On May 26, 2015, a public hearing was held to address any concerns from the public. Over the last few months, staff has negotiated changes with Waste Management staff to the agreement. Staff has provided the final franchise agreement for council consideration. This represents the last round of negotiations between city staff and Waste Management.
Okay, council?
I'll make a motion. I move to adopt the ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a franchise agreement with Waste Management of Washington, Inc. for solid waste services as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion and questions. Yes, Mr. Cartwright.
Just
Yeah.
wanted to ask
Johnson.
the city attorney, were your revisions, you had some concerns with, in particular with the contract?
Yes, and they appear in the latest draft here.
And that was my question,
Cartwright?
so you're okay with everything?
Yes.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions, any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Clausen.
Just a general comment. In the future, it would sure be great if we get a copy of a red line so we could actually see where changes are. It's difficult to compare electronically.
We had some problems with the redlined versions, too. We had problems reading them. I don't know what went wrong, but it was difficult to read.
Mr. Mayor, I would also make the comment that I would have appreciated in the staff report if it would have indicated that our concerns from the last meeting had been met. And that was why they were moving it forward for recommendation.
Okay, any other comments, any other questions? None? We're going to be voting, adopting an ordinance for solid waste services. All those in favor of the ordinance before us, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. That motion carries. Okay, we're at the second reading and adoption of an ordinance amending the 2015 budget. Mr. Martin, could you lead us into this one, please?
Mayor Mathis, members of the Port Orchard City Council, citizens of Port Orchard, actions involving amendments to the budget take 2 readings. This is the second reading of an ordinance amending ordinance number 020-14 adopting the 2015 budget. The public may comment on the amendment following its presentation. The city budget is written to capture revenue and expense over the fiscal year. During the year, changes to the budget in both revenue and expenditures need to be recognized by budget amendment. This budget amendment ordinance recognizes amendments approved by council action during the first half of the year. The budget amendment ordinance reflects the following: $19,500 from the Water Sewer Fund for continued water sewer gap analysis professional services provided by Katie Isaacs and Associates. $1,600 from current expense for additional landscape services provided by Progressive Landscape, LLC. $15,100 from current expense for the Marina Park Restroom Security Modification Project. $31,000 from Street Capital Improvement Fund for the continuation of the Bay Street Pedestrian Pathway Project with N.L. Olson and Associates for design documentation activities needed for the project's right-of-way phase. $4,000 transferred from current expense recreational reserve to the Capital Construction Fund for expenditures relating to the Paul Powers Park Interim Improvement Plan Ready PS&E with N.L. Olson's and Associates. $5,500 from current expense for continued partnership with the Port Orchard Port of Bremerton in the construction of a covered structure located at the observation area of the Marina Park. And finally, $13,935 to current expense from the Washington State Parks and Recreation Commission Recreational Boating Safety Federal Financial Assistance Grant, which the city received. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council, what's your pleasure on the second reading?
Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Clausen.
I move to adopt the ordinance amending the 2015 budget for the city of Port Orchard.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, we're going to be voting on adoption of the ordinance amending 2015 budget. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're at 7C, adoption of resolution approving the 6-year transportation improvement program. Mr. Dorsey, could you tell us about this one?
Thank you, Your Honor, council members. The City Council held a public hearing on June 9, 2050, as required, to hear testimony regarding the 6-year Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, for the years 2016 through 2021. Attached is a copy of the city's TIP, which covers the years 2016 through 2021. This document is required to be financially constrained, which means that project funding, either secured or planned, must be realistic and based on the city's budget. The city has created a 2-tier system for the TIP, in which the first tier, being reasonably fiscally constrained, will be submitted, and the second tier, unconstrained, are the transportation facility projects that will be included in the project list. The city has transportation needs that include upgrades to its street and pedestrian facilities and providing maintenance activities on its streets and sidewalks. Federal and state funding, for the most part, is available on a very competitive basis. The city has to look at innovative ways of funding transportation shortfalls, such as forming transportation impact fees or TIFs or local improvement districts, by which residents agree to tax themselves to do these improvements, or through a transportation benefit district. More discussion on this issue will be part of the city's upcoming budget preparation. Staff recommends adoption of the city's 6-year transportation improvement program as presented.
All right, thank you. Council?
Yes, I will make that motion. I move to adopt a resolution adopting the 6-year transportation improvement program for the years 2016 through 2021.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Now we open the floor for discussion.
I just wanted to comment, this has nothing to do with setting an impact fee dollar amount. This is just getting the ordinance in order, so we're compliant. That discussion will come later.
Any other discussion or comments? Seeing none, we'll be adopting resolution approving the 6-year transportation improvement program as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Seeing none opposed, that motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item 7D, adoption of a resolution appointing the new code enforcement officer. Mr. Bond, would you tell us about this one, please?
Yes, thank you. Port Orchard Municipal Code Section 2.64010 requires that the City Council appoint the code enforcement officer by resolution. The city's code enforcement officer has retired effective 6/19/2015, and we've hired a new officer, Douglas Price. And I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Price. He's in the audience tonight, and I'll have him step up to the microphone and say hello. He comes to the city with 17 years of code enforcement experience with Lakewood since their incorporation, and so he's seen a lot and faced a lot of challenges. And I think on Monday, when his first day all by himself, he realized that he's got a lot of challenges here too. So Doug, if you want to say anything about yourself, to introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Don't have any particular comments, but I am glad to be here, and Mr. Bond is correct. Got big shoes to fill. Kathy is going to be a hard act to follow, and it's a challenging job, but I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions?
Can you tell us where you currently reside, and what were some of your first impressions of Port Orchard?
Sure. I live in Lakewood, and my first impression was just of the waterfront. On the way to the interview, I took extra time and drove around to get a feel for the city, and had reviewed the website ahead of time, and I was impressed by the history, the waterfront setting. I've always loved the water and have missed it. And the downtown area, the historic areas, some of the historic buildings and properties around the city.
Okay. Any other? Well, welcome. I'm very glad you're here. I did get to see some of the process, not much, but a little bit of it, and you come highly recommended and highly qualified. So I'm very, very thankful. So welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Clausen.
I would move to adopt a resolution appointing Douglas Price as Code Enforcement Officer.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or comments?
I have a question, and I just wanted to ask this question publicly. I've already asked it of Mr. Bond, but when we advertised or first considered this earlier this spring, there was an issue with the code, and there was going to need to be an update with the code. And I just wanted to make sure that we were in compliance.
Yeah, I think, this is the status quo. We've been operating like this for a number of years, and so we're going to continue for at least another 2 weeks. We did draft an ordinance, and we nearly had it ready for this meeting, but we wanted a little bit more time to research and make sure that we had dotted all of our I's and crossed our T's. And so it's our hope that we'll have it brought forward, I think, at the second meeting of July, actually. And that's going to remove the penalty and civil infraction section from the personnel chapter and put it in a different chapter of the code. And then we've got to go through some of the other chapters further on in the code concerning what the penalties are and whatnot. But the first step we should be able to take in July.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing no more, then we're going to be confirming the appointment. Or no, I'm sorry. Let me back up here. Adopting a resolution appointing new code enforcement officer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carried. Thank you. 7E, approval of contract with Port Orchard Independent. Ms. Fernandez, are you going to read this into the record for us? Thank you.
Annually, RCW 3523-352-7 requires second-class cities to designate an official city newspaper. The newspaper shall be of general circulation within the city or town and shall have been published regularly, at least once a week. Requests for newspaper publication services were published on Friday, May 15th, 2015, and May 29th, 2015, with bids being received by June 5th, 2015. The city received one bid, the Port Orchard Independent, and you can see the numbers here displayed on the screen. The recommendation of staff is to authorize the mayor to execute a contract with Port Orchard Independent as the city official newspaper.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
I move to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with the Port Orchard Independent as the city's official newspaper in accordance with Port Orchard Municipal Code, Chapter 1.16, and RCW 34.23.352.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Discussion or comments? Mr. Clausen.
Just a question. Where did we publish the advertisement?
Wait one moment. I can ask the office assistant who did the publishing.
Okay.
Probably in the official page.
Thank you. It was published in the Port Orchard Independent.
Other questions? Comments?
Well, I have a question. And my question is, and it doesn't necessarily pertain to us approving this this agreement, but has there been any discussion at the state level to make the require the notifications to be in something other than print form, such as online notifications? I notice the papers, when you see them now, there's not a lot to them, and it seems like more people are gathering that information online in some fashion. And I wondered if there has been any discussion of changing the RCW.
I'm unaware of that, but I can have the clerk get back to you on that information.
Mr. Chang?
So to reiterate what we heard, this was not placed on our website, or it was placed on our website and also in the Independent.
Yeah, it was questioned which publication we used. We used the Port Orchard Independent, and it was also on our website.
Also on the website.
And we also emailed the Sun, and we emailed the Port Orchard Independent independently.
Okay.
So we did email the other.
Yes, we did.
Okay. So it's not like one paper didn't read it in the other paper.
Correct. They
did.
received an email
Okay.
from us.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. That makes you feel better.
Any other comments? Any other questions? All right, seeing no more comments or questions. 7E, approval of contract with Port Orchard Independent as the city's official newspaper. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. Thank you. Okay, 7F, confirmation of mayoral appointment to Lodging Tax Advisory. Ms. Fernandez, are you going to read that into the record for us, please?
Yes. Pursuant to Port Orchard Municipal Code 2.22 and state law, the City Council shall review the membership of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee annually and make appropriate changes by recommendation of the mayor. The mayor recommends the following representatives to serve on the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee upon council's acceptance. Businesses required to collect the tax: Comfort Inn, Cedar Cove Inn, and Mrs. Howe's Bed and Breakfast. Organizations involved in activities: Port Orchard Chamber of Commerce, Port Orchard Bay Street Association, and Fathoms of Fun. The mayor recommends approving the appointment of the members as presented.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chang.
I move to approve the mayor's appointment of a representative for the Comfort Inn, Cedar Cove Inn, and Mrs. Howe's Bed and Breakfast as businesses required to collect the tax, and Port Orchard Chamber of Commerce, Port Orchard Bay Street Association, and Fathoms of Fun as organizations involved in activities to serve on the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Open the floor for discussion.
I have just a
Ms. Ashby.
discussion. I want to know, I'm assuming that the businesses were contacted to see if they had the time. I'm wondering if the organizations were contacted to make sure they were willing to serve.
I don't have that answer. I don't know if the clerk spoke with you, Mr. Chang, on that.
I know half of the question I can answer. The businesses did say that they would be able to participate. I don't know about the organizations.
What's the timing of this? Is this something that needs to happen tonight, or can we get that answer and act on it to the next meeting?
We have two of the organizations in the audience. I just thought it would be appropriate that we would invite them to see if they were willing to participate, so that we didn't appoint them and then have to say, oops, we don't have anyone, and then us have to go through the process of finding someone else.
I agree.
See, Sharon's head's nodding. Is Matt's head nodding?
Well, we know the businesses agreed to it. I thought it was, or maybe I misunderstood your answer, Mr. Chang. Is it the folks that collect the tax that have agreed to participate? Okay, so it's the others.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, then, we're going to be voting on the mayoral appointments to lodging tax advisory committees as read into the record. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. That motion carries. Thank you. 7G, approval of public events application, Tennis Week. Ms. Fernandez, would you tell us about Tennis Week, please?
Yes. Karen Nilsson and Starla Franks from the Discovery Montessori School request permission to use city property to hold a summer school event. They would like to use the tennis court by the Active Club. The event is called Tennis Week and is scheduled for Sunday, July 12th through Friday, July 17th, 2015. Each day, the school provides tennis lessons for all summer school students of Discovery Montessori. Children will come in small groups for approximately 1 hour and then walk back to Givens Community Center. City departments and the fire department have reviewed the application and have submitted their comments. Staff recommends approving the public event application.
All right, thank you. Yes, Ms. Lucarelli.
I move to approve the public event application from Discovery Montessori School, allowing them to hold their event using city property as presented.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Open the floor for discussion or comments. Discussion?
I saw the folks up there hosing down the tennis courts this morning, so it looks like it will be in good shape for this.
Good. They will, and did you notice that Mark mentioned that the lines will be repainted before the tennis camp, so they will be in good shape. Any other questions or comments?
Well, my comment that I made to Mr. Dorsey, and I know it was just, I asked if when we were restriping the tennis court, if it were within our budget and time, if we could also restripe the basketball court that's right there also.
Right, so I'm going to leave that up to Bill. I mean, obviously the priority is the tennis court because of the activity. I don't see any reason why they couldn't do the basketball court as well.
Makes sense because they're already there, but let's check with him. Okay. Any other comments or questions on this? All right, then, will be approval and public event application Tennis Week 7G. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Thank you. That's approved. All right. 7H, approval of public events application, 4th of July fireworks show.
Thank you. Ms. Sharon Kane with Fathoms of Fun Festival, Inc. requests use of city property for Saturday, July 4th, 2015. Fathoms would like to have approximately 10 food vendors at the downtown waterfront starting at 4:30 p.m. until 11 p.m. They feel having food vendors would enhance the 4th of July fireworks show. City departments, the fire department, and Kitsap Transit have reviewed the application and have submitted their comments. Staff recommends approving the public event application.
Hey, Council. Yes, Mr. Patonsu.
I move to approve the public event application for the Fathoms of Fun Festival, Inc. to allow them to hold their event using city property as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Open the floor for discussion or comments. Seeing none, we're going to be approving public events application for 4th of July fireworks show food vendors. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Thank you. We're on the additional item I. Mr. Clausen, hazardous mitigation program, and let's see here. Mr. Dorsey, would you tell us about that one, please?
The city is pursuing a hazard mitigation grant application to repair the Marina pump station or to do the repairs on the cofferdam seawall. And so that application is due June 29th, and I received the application tonight requesting my signature. Unfortunately, it required authorization, so Mr. Clausen has volunteered to make a motion and hopefully will allow me to get the application turned in before the June 29th deadline.
Mr. Clausen.
To get this on the floor, I move to appoint Mark Dorsey, Public Works Director, authorized application agent for the Marina Pump Station Washington Hazardous Mitigation Grant Program application and grant.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Open the floor for discussion or questions.
So it'll just be the cofferdam is all that it'll cover?
At this point, that's what it looks like. If it won't, there's not enough to do anything with the pump station itself. This is a cofferdam around the port, possibly a generator. Because the new generator is very old. So it depends on how much funding we get through the grant.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, we'll be voting on new item F, and that's the mitigation program grant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Thank you. All right, that concludes our business items. So we'll go ahead and move into reports of the council committees. Mr. Clausen, Finance Committee.
Just that our next Finance Committee meeting is July 14th at 5:30 here in City Hall.
Okay. Economic Development and Tourism, Ms. Ashby.
Yes, our economic development meeting will be July 13th. That's a Monday here at City Hall, and it will be directly after the public property meeting.
Okay. Utility Committee, Sewer Advisory, Mr. Patonsu.
We continue to have scheduling issues with utilities, so since we only have one item on the agenda, we've moved it to next Tuesday, 1 hour prior to the special meeting we're having. So we'll meet here at City Hall in the back room here at 5 o'clock is the next Utility Committee meeting, so we haven't met. Last Sewer Advisory Committee meeting was last week. Primarily, it was a tour of the facility and projects they've completed. They've got to see the new retaining wall that was built along Only Avenue, and we've got the preparations for the new, they're vinyl type domes that are going on top of the solids tanks. The first one should be being installed this week, so you'll probably see a green dome here within the next few days or next week on one of the tanks, and then once that tank's operational, they'll be draining the other tank and performing the same procedure on the others. They had metal floating lids, they'd failed, and so they're going to be a vinyl type dome that's held up by air. So,
all right.
Also, the next sewer advisory is August 19th.
Thank you.
At the South Kitsap Water Reclamation Facility at Olney and Beach Drive at the treatment plant at 6:30.
All right. Thank you. Public Properties Committee, Mr. Cartwright.
Yes, thank you. The next public property will be July 13th at 8:30. I may have a conflict and reach out to council members to see if there's somebody interested in stepping in for me on that day. A little short-staffed at my other job.
Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, Mr. Chang.
There's nothing to report, but we will start meeting.
Okay. Thank you. You have a committee now.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Chimes and Lights, Ms. Lucarelli.
Nothing to report today.
Waterfront Plan Subcommittee, Mr. Childs hasn't been working on that in the last couple of months, so we'll ask him next month. The 125th City Anniversary Planning Committee. I was at the last one for most of it, then I had to leave. Sharon King is here, and would you like to give us a quick rundown of what happened there? Or you can give us a slow rundown of it.
Well, it'll be just short and quick. I was going to try and wear the new Centennial shirt tonight that the Seroptimists have that they're going to wear in the parade. But Laura Dean, unfortunately, is on Mount St. Helens today with her grandchildren, so I'm wearing my stripes instead. We're moving forward. We have a lot of things planned. The marble tournament, the library's just really taken hold of that. The kids, I happened to go into the library to drop off Fathoms of Fun flyers on Saturday. Just as a little girl was dropping a marble into the fishbowl that they have out, they have the 3 age brackets, the children, the teens, and the adults over 65. When you finish reading a book, you get to drop a marble in it. So it draws attention to the marble tournament. They can also pick up their applications at the library at the same time. So I think it's going to be a fun thing. Lots of things happening.
Okay. Thank you. Outside agency committee reports. Ms. Ashby.
Yes, I would. The KRCC has not met since our last meeting, but I would like to invite everyone on the council and in the audience this evening to join us on Monday, and I believe that is June 29th at 5 o'clock at the Island Community Center. They're having a reception for Mary McClure. She had been the consultant for KRCC since about 1999, and she is moving on to other opportunities, and so we're having a reception to honor her that evening, and everyone is invited.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see, Mr. Who's next? Cartwright, Mr. Cartwright, anything? Does anyone else have a report? Seeing none? All right, we'll move on then. I do have a short report. I want to remind citizens out there that it's cleanup week, and if you go to the website, you'll see what you can and can't leave out. Of course, we're already 2 days into it, so we only have 2 or 3 more days. But it's spring cleanup, and the city, for free, picks up some items, not all items, but some items. And there is a list on the website, and there's also pamphlets downstairs that say which items we'll pick up. So don't forget to do that, participate in that. And we just wanted to tell you that officially, I think this summer is really going to be in full swing this weekend downtown, and it's the Fathoms of Fun Grand Parade. But let me just tell you a few things: fireworks fundraiser, pancake breakfast at the Lighthouse, 8 to 10, and that's important because every dollar that we get into that fund, I think it's not too late. We still may buy some extra shells. Is that correct? So. If you feel like having a breakfast and you want to do something good, I think the tickets are $10. And some of that money goes for fireworks. Half of that money, $5 of that goes for fireworks. So 8 to 10, Saturday, it kicks off your Saturday. 9 to 8, Summer Festival Vendor Show. And something new this year that we're really excited about is a hydroplane simulator. And you can get pictures sitting in the hydroplane simulator. And that's going to be down there all day on Saturday, and it'll be down there part of the day from 10 to 5 on Sunday. So kids love to get in there and get their pictures taken. There's something called rockets, stomp rockets and fuzzy flyers, and I'm not sure what those are, but they're down at the gazebo at Children's Park, sponsored by Civil Air Patrol. So you better come down there and find out what that's all about, at least some of the time. And they're going to be down there between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m., and I presume they'll have 3 or 4 demonstrations. Am I correct? Okay, so you can color with princesses down there from 10 to 12, and little ones have a lot of fun doing that. And kids' crafts near the bleachers from 12 to 3. There's a lot of things going on there for children. And, of course, the Columbia Bank's Grand Parade starts at 6 and will go till 8. And I think we have, or you guys have, about 110 entries or something in that neighborhood.
About 115, 1,200 participants.
Wow. So once again, if you haven't seen one of those, you need to. And if you have before, it'll be better than ever. So come down there. Sunday, actually, I won't read them all, but there's actually activities from 9 until 5 continuously downtown. So a lot of fun down there. So please come down both days, spend the time with us. I think you'll find it worthwhile. And that's my report. So we'll move on to Public Works Director, Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you. Some very quick updates. Public Works is really busy. We're doing our semi-annual flushing and our semi-annual cleanup. So that's always a stretch when they seem to get scheduled at the same time. We're also wrapping up that marina pump station restroom modification. The Bethel paving is wrapping up. The Bethel paving, we've got one more area we're going to add to the contract. That's from Valier down to the frontage at Walmart to pick up some of those areas. We're hoping with all the plus and minuses and horse trading that we're going to still be in budget, but I felt it was more important to pick up those areas now. I may be coming back at some future date, but I think we're right on budget with everything.
Is there a final overlay that goes over all of the patches?
Yeah.
Right. So they're finishing up this week. They're going to finish up the last mill and fills or repairs in that area. They're done with Schedule C in that portion. We've added to the contract an edge grind at the intersection so that there's an actual inch lip of asphalt up to the curb, which is it was basically no district. We had some overages or underages in other areas. So we're on track to, once we finish these mill and fills, to do the final overlay, which goes from Mitchell to Valier and Cathy by to Carl Pickle. Don't know why this keeps shutting off. And then Bay Street, schedule or segment 4, the bridge is out to bid. Bids will be due on the 17th. It'll be to the council on the 28th of July. And we had a meeting with Bay Ford today, very good meeting on orchestrating activities. So we're going to be pushing to get that done by December 1st. But the important thing is to get under contract and get the bridge fabrication going and the piling fabrication. So it looks like we're on track.
Nice.
All right, thank you. Bridge we're talking about is Blackjack Bridge, the footbridge. So, and that's we've waited and worked, and thank you, Mark, for staying with it as long as you have. It looks like it's actually going to happen. So we're very tickled and surprised, or happy anyway. So anyway, City Treasurer, Mr. Martin.
I have two things tonight. I asked Nick to quit turning off Mark's microphone.
Yeah.
And then secondly, excuse me, I've had a cold. But I did want to have this moment in history brought to you by the Finance Department. And this is a question for council, and this is from 1890, 125 years ago. Now, John Clausen might have an advantage here.
You might remember.
But anyway, we're going to go ahead. And so in Port Orchard Ordinance Number 1, Section 1, it set forth what for the town of Sydney?
I know the answer to that.
Because I had to look it up. So with that, what it did is it set the meeting time of the town council. It set it for Monday night, 7:30, and in a bid for plain speaking, they said 7:30 p.m. sharp. So there's your moment in history.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bond.
Yeah, just one comment. As was mentioned in the public comment section, there was a major Supreme Court decision that came down last week. We now have clarity on what needs to be done with the sign code, and we're working on it, and hope to have you something real soon. So we are hard at work, and I'd say even by next meeting you may have something on an interim basis.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Morse. Ms. Fernandez.
No report, thank you.
Oh, you guys are easy on it. Chief was here, but I think he left, so he's also not going to be given a report at this time. Okay, so where are we at here? We don't have an executive session, to my knowledge, and so we'll go to citizens' comments at this time.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Before we start citizen comments, I would just like to make a couple remarks in that the citizen comments are very important, but we do as a council function under Robert's Rules of Order, and with that are some stipulations with the citizen comment area. And I think this may help explain to some people why when citizens ask us questions, we don't respond or engage in a discussion with you. All speakers address their remarks to the presider. This is not a discussion period. If appropriate, the presider may respond or ask staff to provide information. The presider must not enter into back and forth exchange with the public. Council members are to refrain from speaking during this portion of the meeting.
All right. Thank you for that clarification. All right, we'll move on then to public comments, and I noticed a hand up. Did I? Please come up and make your public comment.
My name is Gail Porter. I'm the chaplain for the Port Orchard Post 30 American Legion post here. As you may know, the American Legion is very big on flag etiquette, and I'm assuming that the position of the American flag in the middle is an inadvertent misuse of flag etiquette. The American flag is always presented on its right, and so I would ask, or I would present to the council at this time that be corrected for the next time that we have a meeting. This is displayed, of course, on the internet, and I don't know how many high school, junior high, grade school kids look at it, but neither do any of you. And what I'd like to see is our city presenting itself correctly. Like we know what we're doing. So,
oh yeah,
that's my
thank you.
Actually, if I could respond to that, I apologize. I had tasked staff to do that a few weeks ago, so I'm shocked that it's not done yet. So I think somebody's going to get flogged.
Well, let's just correct it. We'll go that way for no flogging, please.
Just do it and save a flogging.
So, okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Yes.
Mr. Mayor, council members, since you stole all my thunder, I don't have anything to say tonight. So I'm feeling really generous because Mr. Martin over here is wearing our Fathoms of Fun pin. I will donate a free simulator ride for him either on Saturday or on Sunday. Wow. Yeah. Will you accept that? Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second, third.
We